Hello, everyone. This is a video overview introducing the Unit 1 paper and the hypothesis assignment associated with that, along with a small extra credit assignment before we do anything else. I'm currently at the top of the Unit 1 module, which at the time of making this video is not open yet, but it soon will be. And one of the first things you want to do is you want to click on the assignment sheet and download it and print it, ideally if you have access to a printer, or if you happen to be on one of our campuses, you can print it out and use our ink instead of yours. Highly recommend that. You are going to need to read it so that you know what the requirements, restrictions, and recommendations are for the paper. The actual short story itself is here in a Grove. You're also going to want to click on that and download it. Don't just read it online. I highly recommend that you download it, print it out, and that you annotate it by hand so that you can underline key words, key lines. You can write things in the margin, and I'll show you an example of that in just a moment. I guess, in fact, I'll show it to you right now. This is my hand annotated copy, and when I suggest that you do this, I think this is a highly good practice for any kind of reading that you have to do where you're responsible for it. And an annotation is just you thinking on paper. There's nothing fancy about it. So notice some of the things I do. I'm underlining key phrases, key lines, parts of lines, bracketing things off, circling phrases, but more importantly, I'm writing things in the margins. It might be the time of day, it's an observation, maybe connecting things, and the annotations become richer as you read the story more than one time. The very first time you read it, you might want to read without even a pen in hand and just kind of read it through to kind of get a sense of what it's about. But I highly recommend doing this because when you start writing the paper, then you'll have this printed out and you'll be able to find things more quickly. You'll also need to number the pages 1 through 7 naturally because the copy that I have doesn't have page numbers on them, and we'll need page numbers for our parenthetical notes later when we write the paper. So those are just recommendations, but they're big ones. All right, one of the first things that we're going to do before I release any lesson content is we're going to come down here and I'm going to show you one of the first things I'll open is an extra credit assignment for doing what I just recommended. So if you print out that short story, annotate it authentically by hand. Just think on paper. It's not performative. It's nothing fancy. You're not trying to impress me. It's just for your benefit. If you do that and then you scan a copy of that and upload the PDF, making sure that you're using a dark colored pen and writing legibly enough so that I can read it, I'll add 5 extra credit points to the final draft of your essay. So nice little bump in points. That means a 75 becomes an 80, 85 becomes a 90, and so on, just for doing something that benefits you anyway. But this is optional. You certainly don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you do, you'll need to do it today on the 9th before you work on the hypothesis assignment. This one is an actual assignment, and you'll see that I have the instructions for that here. You'll want to click on that so that you can see the different tag types. And then we have the hypothesis assignment here. And this is an individual assignment, meaning that I have put everybody in the class in a group by yourself, because hypothesis is normally a social annotation tool where we can have either small class or whole class discussions over a given text. So the point of the annotation is not to impress me. The point of the annotation is to process the text deeply. The short story is an open-ended murder mystery. I think I've alluded to this before. It's about a samurai who is murdered during the Edo period in Japan, and it's open-ended, meaning there's no clear answer. and there's a lot of conflicting testimony. Some things line up, some things don't, and it's our job to kind of go through, give this several deep readings, and try to untangle the evidence and make connections. So the purpose of this assignment for annotating is for you to figure out your working thesis. Your very first paper is going to ask you to write an argument that explains or makes an argument for who the real killer is. Now, one of the discrepancies in the story is that all three of the main characters, the samurai, his wife, and a robber they encounter on the road, all of them confess to a murder that only one of them could have committed. So we have to do a lot of things. Number one, you have to figure out who you think the real killer is. And over time, you'll collect evidence and start connecting the dots so that you can make a case for why that person is clearly the killer. But you'll also have to write sections in the paper that will make counter arguments showing how the two false confessors couldn't possibly have done it. So you'll kind of have to blow their testimony out of the water, show how they couldn't do it, but also account for why they might confess to a murder that they didn't commit without relying on speculation or creative writing. All of these things have to have a basis in the text. So if you remember in the class welcome video, one of the things that I did is I showed you a little bit about how hypothesis works, but I wanted to click in and show you just a few brief things here. Usually at the beginning of an assignment, I'll have something up here with a reminder to read the instructions right above this. So you'll want to read that before you get started and read the instructions. There's a reminder here that there's no double dipping on the annotations. By the time you're done with this assignment, you'll have a minimum of 25 to 30 annotations, not because there's a magic number, but just so that we can make sure everybody's doing a deep dive. So aim for at least 3 annotations per page, knowing that that's just an average. You might have more on some pages, less on another. You shouldn't be skipping any pages because it's only 7 pages, and there's something important on every single page. I do have a couple of sample annotations here on the right. Let me see if I can scroll down. There we go. And remember, when they are collapsed, you can click on the more and you can see. Now you'll notice here in these little gray boxes here, I've got a descriptive tag that says jumping to conclusions ? And I have an AE tag. For you to know what the AE tag, you have to click on the PDF instructions right above this assignment, and that just stands for analyzing evidence. And this is just so that we can organize the different kinds of annotations you might be making. Again, it's nothing fancy. We don't want to use AI to do this, so please don't open up an AI platform and copy paste elements of the text in there and ask it to explain or do anything like that, because it's kind of obvious. We're just writing in our own natural language, and this is really just an opportunity for you to think through the paper. These are easy points if you do them in the right spirit and you do them authentically. Again, they're not performative, they're not fancy, they're not for me, they're for you. But I've tried to structure the assignment so that it leads you to read in a meaningful way and to think on paper. The only people that can see these annotations are you and me, because everybody is in an individual annotation group for this first assignment. So again, no need to impress. So these, and you also don't have to put pictures in them. I just did that so that it would be more likely that students would read them. I also like to do things on mine for my own benefit that you might find useful. Is if I have a question about something, I'll usually put question and I'll put it in bold. And if I've got something else that I want to break up, because the whole point of these is to do them so that I can go back and look at them later. Some of my annotations might be pretty useful when it comes time for me to write the paper. So the first thing that we're going to do in this unit before we do anything else is read the short story. And so that's the focus right now. Once we've read the short story, I'll release some content on how this paper is going to be structured, the conventions of writing about literature, and the fact that we're not writing a traditional literary paper where we're talking about theme and metaphor and symbolism and things like that. And those are additional reasons why you don't want to turn to things on the internet for this or AI, because they tend to focus on those kind of things. And this is just a straight up murder mystery, and you are the detective who's trying to figure it out and put the pieces of the puzzle together. All right, so this is the next step, the next thing that we're working on. And I'll post more content once we're done with this to get us started on next steps. Y'all have a great day, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.